Space, for us, Lithians as you call us, has always been a place of worrying emptiness. There were none like us, and so many that were not at all the same. Organic, squishy life barely managed to reach the microbial stage even on planets theoretically set in the perfect position to entertain wildly complex life forms. The most advanced creatures we ever managed to sink our claws into were little more than giant gas balloons living off the ambient radiation of their gas-like planets, and balloons made for poor conquest. Then we found you. Oh, how you humans excited us. Your vessels were made of wrought metal instead of living crystal. That was the first big upheaval. Metal was too conductive to both heat and radiation, used for little more than gaudy decoration or to hide blemishes in good quartz bits. The first outer shards that reported this fact about you were interred for realignment. They had to be malfunctioning, for in the 10 million years of our record keeping, nothing spoke of anything even remotely similar. The second upheaval came when we tore into a small vessel that had moored at one of our heart asteroids, likely to rest and recuperate its strength. The insides were filled with gas. Gas of all things! That leaky substance which is only good for painting planets and the sky in pretty colours. Stranger yet were the humans themselves, which, as was noted by the greater shard, had flexible shells that parted easily, a soft texture resembling those of the plants found on Hrumgla 4, and high-pitched vibrations that ceased swiftly when just less than 10% of body mass was removed. You were made of so many unfamiliar sensations. We only thought to savor them, to archive them. We thought you were a race of creatures floating between star systems, much like we were. Oh, how regrettable that misconception is now. During the sacred copulation of the two greatest shards, Alar and Kari, in which they exchanged the information charged life within their core lattices before injecting it into a suitable asteroid, ensuring the birth of a new minor shard in a short 1,000-odd years, the smaller of the two suddenly exploded. Explosions weren't uncommon when trawling hazardous asteroid fields. What was curious was that this explosion was lethal, and that it had come from inside. Playing the event back in our living memory archives, we caught an unusual movement of a metal object entering Arla's core moments before the detonation. Following the trajectory, the place of origin was evident as one metal speck at the opposite end of the entire star system. Impossible! The thoughts radiated through the Mother Shard's core lattice. Inconceivable! An attack had come from that far, with such precision and devastation that a 500,000-year-old shard had simply cracked in two, like some mundane asteroid. We were familiar with the term retaliation. Doubtless, our greater web of shards agreed. Gobbling up your human craft was at fault for this attack. The pings of undirected radiation had been dismissed as cries much in the vein of the gas balloons, the cries of an unthinking, distressed non-Lithian. But the cries carried far, and these new ships of yours were much, much larger than the ones before. The war that followed was a brutal one. You fought with what we later learned are termed missiles. We used the sight of dismay, the infinite energy of stars and tidal effects stored before being belched forward in concentrated rays that could even melt through our shells of kilometer-thick stone given time. You called them lasers. Space, it turned out, favoured neither weapon over the other. Your irregular patterns vexed us endlessly, as at these distances even light seemed sluggish. How could objects of metal change course so frequently? We didn't know, but we supposed you were to some similar extent vexed by our own tenacity. Not every missile could crack the shells of a greater shard, especially those who had weathered war before, when we were but disparate clusters. Once our crystalline light receptors learned what to look for, not even 1/10 of your missiles managed impact before they were shot down by our light-speed retaliation. Your ships adapted, growing reflective sheens to combat lasers, engaging from further away, and using celestial bodies to hide behind and curve your shots around. We waited in the belts and in orbits, only opening up the war pores when your ships were well within even the smaller laser range. To you, we must have seemed like the dumb rocks we were surrounding ourselves with. Our victory came when we found what was presumed to be the center of your web, your home. The glittering, ever-rotating wheel of metal in the sky was not well hidden, but it was well armed. Unlike your smaller forms, which gathered around it as if communicating in a great murmur, this one was not very mobile at all. We destroyed it by a simple application of our gravitational force. All we had to do was gather into a great central lattice, then drift through the outer asteroid fields for a mere few months, redirecting billions of your metric tons of the marvelous rocks there in your general direction in a constant stream that never let up. Your missiles were not endless like the light of a star was. They failed you, and your delicate construction was torn to shreds. So it was that rock triumphed over metal. The victory murmur was great. Many new asteroids were seeded with life, for many smaller and greater shards had been lost. Partaking in this drink you call battery led to many questionable couplings. But then came your messenger. It was at the height of foolishness and indulgent exuberance that a little human made entirely of metal snuck their way into our central core. It placed a rectangular contraption on the ground that turned its squeaks and little noises into words that immediately tore our attention away from revelry. Yo, good day to the United Sentient Asteroids that blew up my friggin' fleet. The name's Evelyn Caesar, local warlord dubbed by some ignorant bastards as the Pirate Queen, even though they know I hate royalty. I'd say that it's a pleasure to meet in the flesh, but this isn't my real body, and you're made of rocks. I don't even know if these words are reaching inside your crystal brains, or whatever it is that allows you to coordinate like rats in a grain house. So first question of the day, can you understand me? We stilled. The breadth and depth of unfamiliar information this little creature was verbalizing was enough to gather all our attention. The unfamiliar needed to be catalogued, after all, whether as a resource, a threat, or something to learn from. Your language was odd, fast, but when we deciphered it, we understood the space was full of it, that the entire solar system sung with 1,000,000 of your little voices. The wiser among us became uneasy at the revelation, but the war was won, and you little creatures were so very interesting. Their warnings went ignored. We listen. Wow! Only took you, 30 minutes to respond? Can't believe I lost to this. Unfrickin' believable. The little Caesar creature made an awfully biological noise, as if ejecting some unwanted fluid out of its round upper appendage. Now listen here and listen close. You destroyed my fleet. Whoop-dee-doo. 10 golden stars, you angry rocks. You also destroyed the refinery I was using as an outpost by flinging rocks the size of hat blocks at it. Bonus points for creativity. But, and this is the kicker, you also missed a lot. Missed and hit something infinitely more squishy, and infinitely more dangerous. A grumble went through our lattice at the choice of words. Squishy things were organic, and organics were no threat to stone and crystal and laser. The creature had to be using an advanced negotiation tactic. It was lying. The fact that it was capable of higher levels of deceit was noted, filed, and archived for later perusal. The creature gestured with one of its upper limbs behind it. You hit the Federation's colony on Malthian 4, a city of 3,000,000 souls. Now it's a crater of 0. That's a blunder, you see, because now you have the military's interest, and you get one guess as to what I'm on the run from. All processing halted to contemplate one simple fact. The force our entire cluster had beaten to great losses was a mere splinter of a greater force. It was terrifying, and it was enlightening, and we needed to know more. Why come and tell us this? We asked. We are your enemy. Unless it was offering a coupling of our forces to weather the storm, which was daring given its size. The act itself would have to wait until it was at least as large as a proper asteroid. The creature paused, staring at a sensor crystal with an uncharacteristic level of silence. When it next spoke, its voice was a low thrum of barely contained aggression. Because for all that a part of me wants to see the Federation's battleships take a bite out of you, I am a petty pirate queen. This is my turf, and I'm very bad at sharing. The detonation that followed came from inside our mother cluster, right where the creature had been standing. It had lied about many things, including that missiles could come in the shape of little metal creatures. Their ships were full of them, and yet a full third of our remaining lattice was lost to a single little one. Could every one of them detonate like this at will? Even the soft organic ones? The thought sent a cacophony of emotions through the remaining network. We flung our remains close to the sun, and used its gravity to cast ourselves on a journey far, far out of the star system, where light couldn't reach, and where our processes would slow, until we arrived at the next one. It had been done before. It was a method of last resort, but 10,000 years of dormancy was preferable to dealing with even a single dreadful human.